All right, I think we're back up. Little fun technical difficulties. Should have the stream figured out, the speed figured out, all the other bullshit figured out. Let's make sure we got a good feed. You guys can all see and hear me. Nice and clear, hopefully. Get some more folks on here. Only see 4. That's okay. They can catch up. So tonight's fun. It's going to be taking a standard ASRock H81 Pro BTC. And one of these wonderful, or 6 of these guys right here, which is the R9 390 gaming. They say they're super overclocked. They're actually pretty cool. They light up. Unlike the 290s and 290Xs of the Windforces that were 3 fans, these are 2 fans. They have a nice little black backplate on them, which is pretty nice. We got 6 of these. Some more of the little nylon spacers. I don't know if we can zoom down on one of those or a few of those to see a few of those. Get a few of these things going under here. Started. Let me see if I can get this out of the way for you can see this. Push a few of these over. We'll bring this in a little bit. Not so much that you can see. Kind of how we're going to get to that. Just a little too big. Maybe we'll do something a little smaller. Just enough to get it in there. Doesn't have to be super crazy with these. Nylon spacers just underneath, giving you enough to hold them down. Again, holds it down there pretty good. You may lift the board just a little bit, just be careful when you're first doing it. Don't just hammer down. This is really just to secure the board. Now I'm using an impact. You absolutely do not need to use an impact. Use a normal screwdriver. What's that one? We'll get a couple more. Slap a processor in this thing, get this thing built. We're going to be using ETH on this one. I'm going to show you how that kind of works, how to configure it. Get a few more of these screws. I think I'm about out of them. I'm building quite a few rigs. Sorry if that's blowing your eardrums out. Rustling around for some screws here. Now you don't need to put all 6 in here. Just a little, like a weird thing. I just do. You only need really 4 of them in here on the corners. I do like kind of putting the one right next to the 24 pin though, because you got to push down on that one pretty hard sometimes to get the cable in there, so you want to have that supported. And if you push them in a little too far, these little spacers, sometimes they slide. Throw it back out. But just underneath. The last one here. That gets the board in there. You can kind of get a good look at the board in there. That thing's a little loose. Yeah, get a good shot of that. Try to get some light, some proper light on it. Get Another, gonna pull a couple cards out of some boxes. I'm gonna grab the CPU. All right. Let's get this back down. On this particular rig, we're going to use, we got a pretty good deal on an EVGA super clock series memory. It's just DDR3. It was cheap. I normally had it for $79. I think we got it for $62, and it was for a 16 gig kit. You do not need that much memory at all. You can get by with 4 gig on these machines. I usually like to buy the 16 gig kits and have 8. Get 2 of these, 2 rigs out of these. Mainly because if I do keep the rigs and I end up spinning some of them down and turn them into gaming machines or something, I like having the extra memory. And or who knows when the next coin's going to come out, it's going to require a lot of onboard system memory, and I really don't want to go back and take all my 4s out and then have to rebuy them. So I spend a little extra to get that. With this, I'm going to do a G3220, kind of an older 1150, about a couple years old. Add in another box. Slap that in. Put that off to the side. Now we got processor and memory in there now. One stick's fine. The standard heatsink fan combo that comes with it's fine. And that's just pretty much make sure they're spun down and clicked. And put in CPU fan 1. Again, should look something like that. Get a good zoom in. On that. Fan 1 or fan 2 is fine. Now let's go ahead and get power supply that we'll be looking at. Now, for these cards, these R9 390s, they're going to take up some power. So we're going to work to get all of them on this 1600 G2 or T2. This is a titanium power supply. Not a platinum, not a gold, titanium. So I don't know if this is marketing. It probably is a little bit of marketing, but this is from EVGA's top one. This is their box and marketing. But we'll get kind of what this is here. So it's a 1600 T2. Continuous power delivery of 94%. A lot of marketing words on there. Fully modular. Let's see here. That's what really matters for us. There's all the different little connections on there. And all the goods, what it puts out, and that titanium logo. So this is my first one that I'm actually trying with the titanium, so I'm pretty interested to see how well it's going to do, considering it's going to hold up all 6 of those R9 390s, or at least we're going to try to make it hold up all 6 of them. So it should be quite the feat. I have a good feeling that we may be able to hit within the power requirement, but we may have to do some volt adjustments. I do have a 30 amp connection here, so I should be able to get it out without tapping out the line connection. So that's a plus. But we're going to get this guy set up, and just temporary set up tonight. I'm not going to get real crazy with trying to get this fit anywhere particular tonight. Really, this is just to get it in there, and let's get it going. And then I'll secure this down later with the rest of the rig. But it fits in there pretty nice. We've got all the cables here. I'm going to try to keep them out of your way. Go through and get this thing hooked up. Now we got a 24 pin. I'll do some cable management with this after. If the 1600 titanium can hold it. On our actual 390X6 rig, we actually had to use two. I use a P2 1000 and a P2 1200. But those are the X's, so we'll see. This one actually can hold up. All these Gigabyte cards. So we need that guy there to plug into the rails, or the connections over to the 4-pin Molex connections. We got a VGA here that we're going to need. We're going to need all the VGA connections on this power supply to feed the 390s. Damn twisty ties. Let's get multiples out here. Do not need the CPU. We already had one. We need one of the SATAs. We do not need the secondary SATA. We do not need a third tertiary SATA. We do need one of those. We do need one of those. Couple more VGAs. Another SATA we don't need. Another VGA we'll need. Another VGA we'll need. We'll need a lot of VGAs. Big cable ties. And another VGA. Look at the CPU. Plugged in. Let's see a question. Altcoins, 20, 280Xs. It is profitable now with Ethereum. That is what this rig is doing. So if you have 20 of the 280Xs, 6 of them does 126 hash. So you'd have at least 3 rigs at 18. So you'd be about almost 400 mega hash plus another 20. You'd be right at 500 mega hash. That's about almost, even at Ethereum at $10, you're at about $90 a day right now with that much. A little under, maybe 85. And then you factor in your power, probably about 65, maybe a little less, depending where you're at. Plugging in the SATA now. We are going to use ETH OS on this really cheap, like $9 16 gig SSD. I bought these in a pack of 5. They actually reflect a little. Little mirror reflection there. They sell these all the way up to 64 gig. But the 16 gig are like $5. Real cheap. But you gotta buy them in like packs of 5. I think they're on Amazon. They may have went up. Actually, when I ordered those, I've ordered about 10 of them now. The guy sent me a message asking me why I was ordering so many of the 16 gigs. They haven't moved. And I said, well, they fit this Linux OS pretty well for some mining, and I probably shouldn't have told him that, because I think he rose the price a couple bucks because I told him that. So you got to be careful when you're buying from vendors and giving them too much, I think, and they'll do a little price gouging on us. They know they can make a few more bucks. So we're gonna hook up the power. Now, people ask this question, and I've had pretty good success with this. I've always used the first one in the strand, and this could be just urban myth bullshit, but I've always used the first one in the strand on the very first power one on these H81 Pro BTCs. And then I use the second one over here, the last one on the strand over here on the far. And if you get the power supplies that have 2 of these, like they'll have a total of like 4 in a single strand. Use the last one over here. I've just had very good success without burning out boards. I've heard people burning out boards and other ways of doing it. So just every one that I've ever done, I've done it that way, and it seems to work out well. I've only burned out a few of these boards, and I think they were, for obvious reasons, one of them I had 4 7970s, and those things just pull so much from the actual slots that the 4 burned out one of the transistors in the back behind the 24 pin. Matter of fact, I have that board right here. And I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to get the light to where it reflects on it right. But right here is where it drew, I think, enough power from here that it actually burned out that trace. Got a little camera difficulty here. Let's get that camera fixed. Let them get zoomed in on it, and then we'll see if it sharpens up some. You got that there. That is where it burns out. Now, it did not impact it at all on the back, just right there on that edge. And I've seen only one other time, one of these other boards I've had them burn out, like right in this channel back here between these 2 capacitors. But those are the only 2 I've had, and I think this one was here. I was testing a theory of not plugging these 2 guys in, and I've only done that one time, and I burned it up right here. So plug those in. That's definitely a pro tip. But if you're running too much current, or you have a heavy card for 7970s, that's what happened to me there. The only board that I burned up that way, though. Yeah, and that was the H81, whoever was asking that. I've only had one H61, and it was sent to me on accident. I ordered an H81, and they sent me an H61, so I went ahead and just said whatever. And went ahead and tried it out. It worked fine. I think it was their kind of first iteration of this. The 61, however. I think I only did a 4-card rig on it, though. Not a full 6-card. Got that SATA plugged in, got those plugged in, got the CPU plugged in. So I'm going to go ahead and get the VGAs plugged in, the PCI Express power connectors here for the graphics cards. This power supply has 9 let's pull this out and you can see the sum. There's 9 different connections for the VGA. And on these cards that we're going to be using, I have one around here somewhere. Here it is. Took one out of the box. Use a 6 and an 8 pin. So they need both. So unlike the Sapphires that we worked on last time on the feed, which were the 390Xs, had 2 8 pins, which complicate things. Especially if you're trying to get it on one power supply. So we are going to go through right now. I'm going to do a count. I think I will have enough based on the quick math that I did when I first bought it. But we have some solutions if we don't. And I will go through them. So that's 2 cards right there, because that's got the 8 and the 6 right there. So there's 2 cards worth. Because as most of you know that do this, that most of the time before you thread out a power supply, you will actually not have enough of these guys. You have a lot of power supplies that you go through. With all these mining things, you usually have some extras that you can kind of rob Peter to pay Paul to get enough of the doubles to use in another rig. Now that puts an additional load on the power supply, so you got to really monitor that and make sure you don't go over too much, or if you're right there pegging off the top of it. If you check us out on Twitter, I usually keep a feed of kind of what we're doing throughout the week. What's that? It's a new one. So one of the questions we have is, we tried out the anniversary board, which is from ASRock. I almost bought one this last week, but it was a Z97, and the Z97 anniversary does have the power connectors on the board, but the Z97 that I was looking at anniversary, why it has these connections, which give you more confidence on putting a lot on here. It only had, I believe, 4 PCI Express and then 2 PCI slots, actual PCI slots. So it's not enough. I think the Z87, the 87, not the 97, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's a true statement. The 87 actually has all of the correct cables, or the correct amount of slots on it. To get a full 6-card rig on it. So I think it's a Z87 anniversary, which will have the additional power slots. I don't know how people can tell on the live feed with this feed. We're using a different camera, as promised. Literally picked up this evening. Quite hilariously. To ensure you had some higher quality and some zoom capability, and allows for some different views and on the live stream. Got another rig right here. Worth. for mining Ethereum. And every once in a while some Yaw coin. But mostly Ethereum right now. Used to do a lot of feather coin. That kind of a lot of the script. And I believe they changed their algorithm. I have not mined it since the algorithm changed. I believe they were going X11 or another N factor. I have not touched it since 14, late 14, early 15. So it's mainly been Ethereum since August. Really got some good legs on it. In the past few months, enough to kind of bring us out of slumber. Start bringing some good hardware for you guys to look at. Trying to run into all the problems we could to help figure out some solutions for everybody. I think this is the last one here. I think this is going to put us one over, but we're going to check because this has 9 and we only really need 8 connections. But I'm going to go ahead and plug them all in anyways, and then I'll back one out if I need it. So 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards, and 6 cards. And it actually has enough for a 7th. That's good to know. So this particular power supply does have enough for a 8x6 an 8x6 7th card, which there are not very many power supplies that get to say that. So for right now, I'm going to pull these 2 off. I don't need them to get rid of some of the clutter. Reduces it some. And technically, if you swapped with another power supply, some of these doubles, you could actually get an 8-card rig out of this power supply if it was low enough power. Which there's only a couple motherboards out there that could potentially do 8. Now, the MSI Big Bang technically could. So if you want to do a single power supply with an MSI Big Bang with 8 cards, that's your power supply. So we got all that in there now. Let's get some cards. Now I'm gonna try to really speed this up, and I'm not even gonna worry about trying to put screw the cards down. We have not done the pre-drills on this. I'm just gonna be setting them here tonight to save the whole drilling them into the case mode. We're gonna really kind of speed this one up. So we're gonna pull them out. We're gonna pull some risers, and this thing's gonna be running. Which I think will be record time because I think we've only been on for about 30 minutes. So we're gonna pull these guys out. This is always the fun part. I don't know why. It just is. Pulling them out of the box. Pretty sparing box. A lot of extra space. I don't know what they're planning on shipping this thing to, because there's a lot of extra. There's much of nothing under this. Huge box for a small card. I guess the branding and packaging look cool. I'll pull a few more of these out real quick. These are brand new. Brand new. Most of the hardware that you'll see on this channel, if I'm on a video, is brand new. Well, relatively speaking. Sometimes I do buy the stuff that's in the case that's a little cheaper. I won't get totally stupid with it, but most of all the hardware that you see on here, that if we're making a video, you guys are seeing it for the first time. I like the genuine nature of that. That's the one thing about mining that's nice to see, is that other people have problems too sometimes with it. So I find that very valuable in getting through some of those issues together. Unfortunately, life is that way most of the time, where it's not so seamless. And I think it sets the wrong expectations for people getting into this. If they just think you can take things right out of the box, plug it in, and it just happily works. Most of the time with mining, it doesn't, in some capacity. You got to kind of work for it to get it right, and when it does, it is so very sweet. Now we have a couple different cameras, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to turn those on, the other one on, and give you guys a different perspective, or we'll zoom in and when I start getting into a little more detail here. Just going to kind of lay these guys up here. Again, nice backplate on this. Aluminum. Capture some of that heat and spread it. Just 2-fan solution for these R9 390s. Again, I'm not going to screw these ones down. I got a couple more boxes here of the cards. I'm going to kind of scoot back here and get these other ones out real quick. And let you kind of zoom in on these. Pull these other boxes. Let's get this. All right. And there we go. All right, let's get some risers. I'm gonna get some of these risers going here. Got a few of the different ones shipped in. Now these really are just adding additional ground on a few of these. They do require a Molex connection. This one has a few on here. Get a pair of scissors. Let me zoom out. Alright, cut these loose. Alright, got a few of those. Need a couple more risers. All right, let's see here. We're gonna get SATA connection. Get this connected. Grab a I think we're almost out of power switches, but we'll get it figured out. And then let's get some risers in here. Plugged into these guys. I like getting these plugged in beforehand, just because of, quite honestly, these things are so damn cheap. They'll push out of those little connectors if you don't do it right. I don't usually like using these ones, but these were the extra ones that I had because the other ones hadn't shipped yet. Do a few of those on that strand. In prep for this one is going to use that. And this one could be for this connector. Alright. Now you gotta make sure these little rubber things are off the bottom of these graphics cards. Which all of them almost are. Again, for folks just tuning in, I'm not screwing these in to the top just for this, just to that way we can get through it. I'll do that after. So I'm really just getting these hooked up. And in place. And they can just kind of hang there for right now. And this will get plugged in after. This lined up. We'll take a zoom in with the video once I get this all plugged in, so you can kind of take a look at that. And how that's coming together. Again, I'll do a wiring cleanup after. I gotta remember to plug that guy in. Some of these risers are pretty old. We have not gotten our new risers in yet. I ordered a whole bunch more. And they are effectively on back order. Slide these down some. Almost there, boys. Almost there. We'll get some questions if you guys got any here. Let's see here. Yeah, the Polynix is pretty strong. I mean, for buying Bitcoin, obviously you go to Coinbase. I mean, I've always went to Coinbase for Bitcoin, and then you can buy your Bitcoin there, and then you can transfer it over to something like Polynix and trade coin for, you know, Ethereum, or if you're mining, I mine to my wallet or a wallet, and then I send it up to Polynix if I'm going to transfer it and convert it. It seems to be one of the more stronger exchanges. I know Kraken, I think, is another one. It's good. So we're going to plug some power into this guy, and we're going to test and see if this thing comes up. I do have a kilowatt on it. Again, for the people just joining, this is a 1600 T2. It's a titanium power supply. We're going to try it on all, and we're going to try it to power all of these R9 390X, or 390s, not X's. These guys. And see what happens. Get this guy plugged in and powered. I'm going to pull this over. Not this guy, this guy. This is the extra ground that we're going to use for the few riser cards. That means be plugged in. Now we're going to go down the line and plug in each of the cards. Again, they're a little loose because I do not have them screwed down in this case. Again, I'm not worried about wire management right now. We're just working on getting this put together. That's a double. I need a single again. This single is to pair up with this one. Trying to get them tucked a little down. Now we're going to go straight and into it. Pass go and collect our 200, which means we are going to go with everything powered up right away. Instead of stair-stepping this, I do have confidence this thing can hold it. That is a lot of power being used. I would not have had that level of confidence if these were 290s. I do as them being 390s though. And for the long stretch, Yeah. Oh, helps if I plug it in the right way. There we go. All right. That. Big, huge gauge cable. Again, check everything. This stuff plugged in. I got a keyboard around here somewhere. I think that one's actually plugged in. Let me grab another one. How's the video feed coming in for you guys? Video a lot more clear than last time? Alright, let's get video feed, network, and I think we're in business. HDMI is all the way at the bottom on these ones, as opposed to all the way at the top on most cards. No real ISO standard on that. Kind of where I guess the graphics card companies feel like messing with us. Alright, that should be everything. I'm going to get this repositioned to where you guys can see the screen. Alright. And then let's get a power switch. This little guy here, cheap power switch. Get that in there. It's kind of a nice feature to have. Just get this scrolled up to where I can see. Our kilowatt power out here is about 12 cents, so not too bad. We're getting a little ground out here. So let's do a little check here. Is that if it's not getting a good connection? Let's check all of our pinouts. Everything. All right. Let's make sure everything's there. We're getting a weird thing with this particular board. Where it is not wanting to engage. So everything and that is the problem. This is a brand new board, but it is not engaging. What we're going to do here is simplify this. Bit. Let's see if we have a problem with one of these cheap risers and just replace those. It's sure acting like it. We'll go with a simple riser. A very hot spot here. So we have, the board's a little warm. It was showing to me that I'm having had a little current issue. Still not wanting to hold. So what we're gonna do quickly, let's pull all these off to the side, and I think I might just have a bad board. Which happens. Maybe about the second that I've had that's been bad. Out of the box. So we're gonna quickly. This is simple, and I'm gonna just lay the next one on. I'll screw it in later, but we'll prove it out real quick. It's real warm right there. No issues with that. I'm gonna pull this off real quick. Pull this one out real quick. Like a flat tire change. We'll throw this one off to the side. And we get another one. So we'll quickly get this in good order, and there we go. I'm gonna slap this back in. Sure that fan spins. You can get around. this one. We got CPU. .24 pin. Quickly. Flex connections. At its simplest. Memory. And from that point, we're going to just test the board. Make sure this thing just doesn't go. Let's see, everything's in there. And we have a heartbeat on the board itself. So that's good. Let's looking for HDMI 3. So we have a good board here. So I think the other board was bad. So it does happen, folks. So now we have a good board here. Let's go ahead and get these back in. Plugged in. Let's see how I took these out. Let's just hope these little cheap ass risers aren't the cause of the other board going down. We're gonna find out real quick if it blows this board too. Get those two in. Let's get another one. We need to get this one plugged in. A good video to show that shit sometimes happens, and that's okay. It's okay if you have extra spare parts, I guess. Sucks ass if you're bought something and wait a lot of time for it and then stuff doesn't work. But I'm gonna get this one plugged in. Off to the side. Again, I do not have this plugged in or the board down. We're doing this pretty quick like. I will put it all together after this kind of video and demo. like screw everything down and everything. We'll get everything all nice and clean and zipped down and run it for a while. Make sure it runs good. But we're going straight into it on running all 6 on this titanium. If it'll hold it. We don't know. Maybe it'll blow it. I don't know. We'll see. I have some level of confidence that it will be able to hold it. But we'll see. I mean, the math supports it, that it can handle it. Again, I don't have these screwed down, so they're kind of not optimally spaced. We're just dealing with that. Make sure we have a good connection on everything. I think we do there. So we can get all the pertinents plugged in. Move that. Move the mouse. Move this. Again, I'm doing a fresh config of EthOS on this. We're gonna short start this baby. It's all up. And it's going straight there because I do not have the SATA connected. So hold on. I unplugged that as part of this breakdown of the old board. Let's get this SATA connected. And restart. I guess I could plug in a power switch. Alright, we are plugged in, folks. Let's see what she does. Discard changes. Let's make sure. Not liking something. So got 8 gigs of memory in there. Check the boot. It's not seeing the drive. I think I already pre-did this one, but we'll see. It's not detecting it. ACH is right. Let's go ahead and power this guy off. I already have another pre-configured drive. I may have not built this one yet. It's okay. I'm prepared. Got one over here. this again. Well, good thing is, right out of the gate, we're seeing all 6. Let me see if I can zoom in on some of this action for you. Alright. We're at 173 watts. That's not going in. First time though, it's new cards. This OS was built with a different set. Let's see if it set it on this round. There we go. I've seen that with the EthOS a couple times. If you boot it the first time and it hangs on the black screen, give it one more shot. So we see all. So we're going to tell the log on this, and we're going to see what this baby goes up to and sees if it shuts down on us on his mind. So I'll kind of give you a play-by-play. We're still holding at 132 watts from the wall right now, as it's starting to spool this up. It's sitting in the work to the cards. We're up now. It's starting to climb as it spools the cards up. With some work, we're at about 600 watts now, and it's starting to load the chunks. We're at 917. Starting to spin some more. Cards to the action. 1100, 1200, 1300, 1360. $1,500, $1,595, $1,599, $1,601, Get a picture of this before it nukes the there we go, folks. 1630. See if you can see that. It's probably hard to see with the matrix. 1651. I'm gonna see if I can get some light on it before it pops it. I'm at 1662. And the kilowatts blinking on me, because that's about killing about as much as you can send through a kilowatt. So what I'm gonna do is just shut this down and pull the kilowatt off of it. And then we're going to plug it in straight now that I know that's holding about 1600. And we're going to bring it back up. Now I'm on a 30 amp, so on this connection, so I would not recommend this on a 20. Let's just say that. So we're going to bring it back up. See if you guys can see this. Letting this thing get going again. Seeing here is about, I'll try to bring the mic a little closer. So it's holding about about 165 mega hash, and that's out of the box for this entire rig. So about 165, and that EVGA single PSU titanium is holding it up. It's about 1600 and right at 1600, 1620 to the wall, and and that's a 1600 watt power supply, so it's really kind of throttling it, you know, to what it's at. I think we can do some modifications just to keep it just under 16, and given the caps and the warranty on this thing, I think this thing will hold up fine. Now it's going to be pulling hard on it, but single PSU, and it had a beep and it went in. It looks like a safety. So let me check. Right as I said that, it should be fine. That's right. Hold on. So we'll take a look at this real quick and see. It was in. This was in a hybrid mode. So the PSU has two modes on it. It has a hybrid power save mode, and it has full power. So it was in the hybrid mode, so I just pulled it out of the hybrid mode. So what we're going to do is we're going to monitor this out of hybrid mode and see if it kicks on to its safety or not. While that's running, I'm going to see if I can reposition this camera to give you guys a different angle on it. So it's starting back up, and we're going to let it run for a minute. Looks like the PSU's holding it. So now we're running this thing without hybrid mode on to see if it can hold up on the 30 amp. This really is a 30 amp rig setup. The I would have to say if you're going to do the single PSU like this, I have pretty good confidence the ZBGA 1600 titanium will hold up this rig. However, you're not going to. I would not recommend this on a 20 amp connection. I think you'll top out that 20 amp. And more than likely, what you'll end up popping is your actual fuse, or if you're on a GFI, you'll pop the GFI. A rig like this, really, given that it's about 1660 is what it looks like it's about going to. It's going to really push that titanium a lot, but if you have a 30 amp connection, I'd recommend it. Otherwise, I would recommend going to some configuration such as a 1000 watt P2 for the platinum for 3 of the cards in the motherboard, and then the other 3 cards you could get by with like an 860 Xi, which is another platinum Corsair, or a an 850 EVGA P2. Should give you more than enough. That's 1850. It gives you enough overhead, and you won't be topping off on the rig. So again, a 1000 and then an 850. You absolutely need that 1000 on the first 3 cards and that motherboard. And the 850 should give you enough connections to where you can split out for the remaining 3 cards. Technically, an 860, I believe, and we can take a look at it, I believe only really was designed for 2 high-end power supplies, but with adapters you could get by with putting 3 cards on it. So it looks like the 30 amp is holding up this directly, and it's handling the power supply is handling it when it's not in hybrid mode. So in this shot, you can see in the very top part, the actual hashing, what it's averaging. So this rig looks like it's about 166.31. So 166.31. 31. 166.31. And that's not really adjusting anything. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to adjust a few things. We're going to do the unthinkable, and I'm going to try to overclock these and see what I can get it up to. And one of a few things are going to happen. One, it's going to work like a champ and I'm just pulling a little more current. Or two, I'm going to blow this power supply up. So we're going to go in here and change this core. To an 1160. Oh, not 1600. I think bad things would happen if I tried 1600. And then this, I'm going to bump to 1500. I'm going to take this power tune to 20. And some weird stuff going on down here at the end of the thing here. We're not close to that 85. Hold on, I'm having keyboard issues here. It's a Wi-Fi keyboard. My batteries are going dead. I think I hadn't opened one of these before. Try these settings. and see if we can nuke this thing. So what I'm doing now is forcing the overclock, folks. So I've went in and I've edited the local.config, and I've set the core clocks to a setting that has been successful for us. But again, we're on very, very limited power with this 1600 right really close to tapping out. So this could shut the rig off, but we're going to take a look and see. We're at about 1660 watts to the wall. Again, on a 30 amp connection with this 1600 titanium. We're putting it on a higher setting, a much, much higher setting. We'll see if this thing holds up. It's rolling now. I'll zoom in, that way you can see the speed. So we did some tweaks. So this has to be really pushing what is in the realm of what's absolutely possible. We are on a single power supply with 6 R9 390s with what I'm calling kind of the God settings for it, pulling out a rockin' 181 mega hash sustained on a single 30 amp connection. As you can see on the connection there, at the very top of how fast this thing's rolling. At the very, very top, 181.87 or 67. I'll get you guys some close-ups here, but this is one to share out to all your friends. This is really pushing the what's in the realm of the possible on these cards and on that power supply on a single connection. Again, single PSU, 181 mega hash. 182, excuse me. And it looks like it's holding it. Connection's holding. The feed's holding. Everything's holding. Everything. Again, these cards are not appropriately spaced. I do not have them screwed down yet. They would actually have an additional ½ inch per card to give them a little more breathing room. So they are a little tight. They're all holding about 70 Celsius P, 77, somewhere around there. to see if I can get you a real close-up look of this rig. Shots of the cards and the setup. Again, this power supply supports all of these cards. Out of the box, this power supply actually would support up to 8 cards. It has enough of the VGA connections. Again, the spacing on these will be a little less tight. PCI Express connectors that we're using. Through it pretty good. We got a few more rigs that we're working on. Rig there. We're going to be covering that 1200 P2 and the 1300 EVGA power supply. We already covered those R9 390Xs. that's another 180 mega hash rig. Looks like we've been up for a good 16 minutes. And it's holding good at 181. See if we got any you guys got any questions. I think this is proven that it's possible on a single EVGA titanium to put a full 180 mega hash rig together. Any of the people watching got any questions? I'm gonna show you kind of what we got coming up on our next episode before we cut off this live feed, and give you a quick live tour of one of the real cool rigs that we've been showing off on the Twitter. Give you guys more of a close-up of that rig and its build. But we're really wanting to show that with proper editing and video. We'll bring that one over real quick. Give you guys a close-up on that. And call a good one on this video. So this is one that we're really proud of, that I cannot wait to show off in our next video. We'll see if we can calm it down here, the lag here. So this one is a custom design. Painted and coated rig, all angled aluminum, all kind of designed out. I actually pulled this one into CAD and built this to fit the R9 280 Toxics. We'll throw a night shot on this, that way you guys can kind of see in the darker areas. So we got two thermal take 1200s, and those are kind of on this rig built into the side. This whole internal compartment here is actually a cage, and if I zoom out, let me see if I can get a good shot of this. So if you can see, this cage kind of goes all the way around and then has an inner box that was designed to hold up the two power supplies and perfectly hold the Pro BTC board. So the Pro BTC board sits on the inside part of that box along with those power supplies. And then in the case that we have down at the bottom, there's going to be a fan structure down here that it mounts to that pulls air up and out and vents it up the top and then vents it out here, creating kind of a tunnel of air that brings up all the heat, blows it out like a top. So you can kind of see each of the cards. It is a full 6-card rig. Turn off that night shot. Kind of give you more of a perspective shot of it. Yeah, we're real proud of that one. And we do have a CAD file that shows exactly how to build this one. We have talked about maybe making that available for folks if people are interested in building it. There's a couple other things besides just screwing things together with this one that we're using with some metal bonding material to make sure that it's real nice and structured. This actually is a lot of weight with the two 1200s, and then once we get all the risers in, we're going to be using the card-based risers. Mainly in support of the link that we're going to require, plus they kind of match the look and the feel of it. So we're going to be using these, which are from ASRock. the BTC card risers. So we got enough for all those in there. And then once we get the rest of the power hooked up, then I think this thing will be ready to rock. So we're going to be doing the final filming of it actually tomorrow, and then be doing some of the post editing of the video, and then we'll get it out there for everybody. We recommend for the pool, we use ETH pool. I mean, I know a lot of people use dwarf pool. Personally, I like ETH pool. The Ether pool, that's what we use. It goes straight to our wallet. But yeah, once we're done with that video filming tomorrow and stuff, we'll see if we can make those CAD drawings and the kind of how to put this together if somebody wants to take the effort. It did take quite a bit of effort. We had to do some 45-degree angles on cutting the aluminum. Again, we use some metal bonding material, and then the fan solution's a little custom to make it work, but we plan on making a few of these different rigs. The Toxics had this kind of orange-ish yellow look to them, and then we were looking at doing like a real dark blue for one of these Windforce setups, which I think would be real cool. We hinted about putting some LED lighting or something cool to kind of bling it out, but it's really just for show, obviously. But that's just kind of what we've always done here on this channel, is kind of added some extra effort to the cases and the things that we're doing. But you know, I hope this has been a good episode for you guys. See if we can answer some questions for a little bit, and then we'll call it. So to answer the water-cooled rigs, we have, let's see if I can get a good shot of this. thought about doing, we put this together a while back. Let me see if I can get a good shot of it here. We put together on a old 290X this NZXT solution, the fan water cool solution, just to see. I mean, this thing's not real super cheap. I mean, this whole thing was probably like 80 bucks, which probably would not be beneficial. The only cool thing about this is it's quiet, and if you have a 290X or a 290 series, they're loud as crap. So this thing becomes super quiet. I just can't really fathom doing, unless NZXT wants to send me 5 more of these. I will happily put them on a whole series of 290Xs. I could probably put together a really cool looking rig, something kind of like, you know, the one we were just showing, with that rig. We could probably put together a pretty cool rig together with a whole bunch of these, like with the water coolers all set up cool, but short of it being a lot quieter, and a lot less heat, because that holds them about 50 Celsius. It's a real expensive setup. The best hash rate to price to power right now that we've tested so far, and you'll see in our next video, is the R7 370. We got, here, let me grab my notes real quick, I'll tell you exactly. So we we've tested in Sapphire Nitro overclocked R7 370, and we're able to, we put together a 7-card rig of that, or 6-card rig, sorry, of that. We're able to pull out 79.8 megahash at default clocks. So almost 80 megahash at default clocks on a 6-card rig. They were $167 a piece. The cards were, so $167 for each card. You times that by, you know, the 6, and then the entire rig overclocked to 1075 by 1475. Ended up only being 634 watts. So I'll type that out real quick. So there's the details I just typed out. Again, we put that rig together. We'll be covering that in one of the next episodes. That's already filmed, so again, we're gonna try to go ahead and get this rig here filmed tomorrow. And once we get that, then we're gonna do about 3 rigs in that video, and those nitros are in that video. Yes, those are the nitros. Let's check on this other rig. It's been running for a while. I went ahead and moved some things over and rebooted it, but it's still kicking. Looks like it's holding at about 183 mega hash right now. I've had a lot of success with ETH and not very many issues at all, and that's covering about 9 different card types without issues. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Another real strong one is this. This is the other Windforce. This is the R9 380 non-X. Has a single 8-pin. So this allows you a lot of different options power supply wise. One rig we haven't covered tonight that I put together, and I'll bring it over real quick. Let me get this other one out of the way. So that is a whole other Windforce rig that we built earlier tonight. That is the R9 380X, which has the same as this is they are spitting image. So this is the R9 380X. This is the R9 380 non-X, and they are exactly the same. Same backplate, same 8-pin single. That makes it very interesting with this being a single 8-pin also, because most of the 380Xs are 2 6s, or a 6 or an 8. So this is a single 8, which gives you some interesting power supply options if you're choosing those cards. So you can use with some adapters, and we were testing this earlier today for an entire afternoon to validate that we wouldn't have a burnout or anything. We tried this with a P1200 or P2 1200 on this particular rig and held it fine, and to ensure we had enough power, we leveraged our connectors on some of those 6-pin duals. Let's see if I can get a good shot of this. Let me get some light over this. So this little connector here, you get these from Amazon. They are power adapters that take a 6-pin to an 8-pin. Okay. So on some of those dongles that you get that are like, you know, the ones with the duals, you can take the 6-pin and cross it. You have the 8-pin into here, and then the one right next to it, you can use that 6-pin to an 8-pin adapter like this. Now, on heavy requirement cards such as the 290s, the 390s, and the 390Xs and the 290Xs, I would not recommend these. This is going to just pull too much current, and you're going to burn out the rail. But on the 280s and the 280Xs, we ran this for literally 12.5 hours today, and we're going to do a longer term test with this, but we ran this for 12.5 hours, checked the heat on all the cables, measured it to see if we were pulling too much amperage from the actual unit, and saw no issue. So taking the 6, which is the 6-pin here, which creates a single 8, and that single 8 plugs in right here, just like that. So if you had a 6-pin and an 8-pin one of these, you can plug that 6-pin straight into this guy, just like that. So then if this was a split one, which this isn't a split one, but if this was your 8-pin, you'd have this other one right here. So it allows you to take something like a 1,000-watt power supply and really go to 6 cards with it, if you have enough requirements. Now, we ran the benchmark on these cards, and this was right here at 1050 to almost 1100 watts of power on all 6 of those 280X or 380Xs rather. So these 380Xs were about 1050 from the wall. So you're going to want at least probably comfortably a 1200 watt power supply. You could probably get away with a HX 1050, but you'd be just bouncing off the top of it. So I'd recommend a 1200 watt power supply for these. And in particular with the 380Xs or the 380s. We only have one of the 380s, but based on the power on this, you may be able to get away with 1,000 watt, because this, the math that we were doing on this would be about 950 to 1,000, right at 1,000 for all of these. A 6 card rig of those. So again, a 1200. I mean, don't split hairs over it. Give yourself some headroom and get yourself a 1200 for those. But yeah, a 1200 rig for this, and it's good to go. I'm checking out I'm reading your guys' questions. Let me get caught up here for a second. Yeah, a couple people have asked us to do a video on other algorithms, and I agree. I think we should, just to give some love to the other coins. We were looking at doing a thing on Yawcoin, which is actually doing N factor 17 right now. I think it's script cha-cha. So we're looking at doing that probably in the next coming week, because that's going to be a real heavy requirement on the cards. I think we were earlier doing a R9 280X, and it was only something like doing 200 hash. I mean, it's way low, so it's crazy. I mean, we're not talking 200,000, we're talking 200 or 220, something like that, hashes. So it'd be an interesting thing. There's some other coins, Vertcoin, and maybe maybe we'll take a poll of the ones that you guys want us to test some of these rigs out on, and we'll do kind of a round robin on most of the hardware that we have on some of those coins. You guys just tell us which ones you want to see. Census, you want me to say your name? Yeah, I've seen some other questions about discussing, what's the deal with proof of, your proof of stake versus proof of work. That should be an interesting conversation. There's they kind of laid out how they want to address it, but obviously they haven't given us any kind of particular timeline. A lot of people are speculating later in the year. I think there's a little more to it than that, than them just switching an algorithm. I think you're going to disrupt a lot of things. But it probably wouldn't hurt to try to articulate that to people in a way versus trying to have them read it and understand it. Maybe we can find some analogies that let people understand what does that mean and how would that work. It's a fair question. Again, we'll take a little quick sweep on this. This thing looks like it's still chucking along pretty good. This is the main purpose of this video tonight, is building this R9 390 rig. running for good for a while here. So this rig is running with the core clocks of 1160, so 1160, and a memory clock of 1500. That's the modifications we did to it, and we ran a power tune of 20. So if you're in EthOS or Windows with those settings, you should get around the same results, which is very good. This is putting out about as much as our 390X rig. With about almost the same amount of power. It's the 390X. It's actually a little under, but it's doing pretty good. And this was actually pretty, I wouldn't say pretty super cheap, but they're I think we paid $339 for these a piece, maybe a little more. It says, here's the actual box, the price. And we, with the SKU, now we did not pay that price. I want to say we were paid about $339 for them. But these are the cards. If you're looking to get the same one instead of the same kind of rig. The super clocks. But we overclocked these pretty good to get it out of them. Right now, Ether, I haven't checked the price right now. I think it's it dropped a little in the last few days. It went from about $11-12 down to about $9 something. It's still very profitable by comparison. Even with power, even if your power is about 15 cents a kilowatt, you're still making money, making good money actually. Usually try to hit Micro Center. Every once in a while we'll take a trip up to Chicago and get go to Fry's. But Micro Center a lot for those. So I think tomorrow we'll go ahead and get these ones running. We're going to get the other rig that we had up earlier on. I actually might go back up and pick up an XFX 390. I believe those are 390s. But we haven't tried a full rig of a 390 setup yet on the XFX side and see if we can get the same kind of results. Looking at what we're getting out of these Windforce, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see if they could get the same kind of performance that we're getting out of these Windforce. 180 mega hash, 182 mega hash is no kidding, pretty fast. See if we can get a little better shot here. So as you can see, this has been running for about 30 minutes. This is why these webcasts go a little long. I like to show the stability. You know, there's one thing if somebody gets on here and shows you, you know, for 5 minutes on a 5-minute video, like, yeah, look, I put this together and yeah, it worked, and then they shut it off. I like showing this kind of real time. I mean, you can kind of skip through, you can go back and see that, you know, there's no kidding, this thing's stable, it's running. Again, that rig is running on one power supply, so it is possible. That is 6 R9 390s on a single 1600 watt power supply. It's pulling about 1660 watts from the wall on the kilowatt. That is a titanium power supply. It is higher than the Platinum. It's the best one that EVGA makes. It's about 500 bucks, 440, somewhere around there if you get discounts on it. It's a very expensive power supply, but it's one power supply. And it's holding strong. We're gonna do though I think we're just approaching the 3rd hour on this one. I think we're gonna call a wraps on this one. If you guys got any more questions, I'll do about 2 more minutes in questions, and then we'll wrap this one up, and then we'll get back to it on tomorrow. Maybe do another quick, maybe less, 30-minute, half hours, maybe an hour live feed tomorrow after we're done wrapping up our other filming, to kind of show you the other custom rig put together and running and hashing. Maybe do a quick live feed on that, but if you guys got any more questions, I'll answer them, and then otherwise we'll call it a wraps on this one. I think this was a good one. We were able to see a motherboard that did not work, quickly change that out, like pit stop style, and then get another good board working, showing that is something that happens sometimes. But you guys can always, this thing will post. It'll take about an hour or something to post out. I'll make sure that this goes live immediately. That way you can rewind. Yes, you can. EthOS does very well with mix match cards. We have done most of the R9 mixtures successfully. So the 290s with a R7 370 with a 380X work fine. I have not tried it with the 7970 or any of the other legacy cards. We do have, I think I have a 7970 and a 7950 around here that I could actually probably try that out with. But so far we've had pretty good success with it. Yeah, no problem, guys. I think we're gonna wrap this up. Again, you guys can always post questions. I try to get to them out there as much as I can. And we have some shirts coming in, and we're gonna get those out to you guys on the one of the next live feeds. Hopefully next week we can give away some shirts. We got some BBT shirts with some Ethereum stuff on it. Let me see if I can get an image for you guys real quick, see what they look like. They're pretty cool. I think they'd be, I think some people will like them. I mean, it's just, you know, if you like to mine and do this kind of stuff. Those are some of the shirts we got being built that we wanted to give out on some of our next live feeds. Get some addresses, and don't worry, for all you international guys, I don't mind shipping international to you. You guys can represent out there. We have some other options that aren't so, you know, full frontal design, you know, something that's just more casual with like a little logo and stuff. So we're gonna have some different options out there for you guys, and we like giving those away. So we'll I think most of the stuff's out of our own pocket. We don't really do anything with donations or anything like that. Let's just say we did pretty well in the very beginning of Bitcoin, and we're just giving a lot back to the community. Hey Tom from Sweden, how's it going? Alright, well I guess we're going to wrap this one up, and I'll make sure that it's post-processed as quick as possible, and that way you guys can go back and take a look at this. Again, you'll have to skip around a little bit. Well, we try to keep most of the action going on this feed. Most of the feeds have been going about 4 hours, so we'll keep this one at 3. And then we'll finish up our wrap of our filming tomorrow for the next episode, and get the main episode out hopefully by Sunday night or Monday morning. We'll catch you later, guys.